Hello, everybody. We are going live. This is Reverend Jody Susan Calhoun, and I have my co-host Figala, who is going to join me here. Come here, Figala. And today we're talking about Explant Your Implants, Prep, Recover, and Self-Care with Jasmine Jaffarelli, who is such a bright light and brilliant beyond belief. And how we came about was she was posting about these implants, breast implants, and the toxicity around the silicone. And there's a lot of people actually who think that the silicone's okay. And I'm here to tell you it's not. You can't put it in your body. You can't cook with it. You can't drink from it. And prior to going into that deep dive of silicone breast implants, I'm going to talk about toxicity for a moment as it hit home. And Figala, are you going to come up here and we're going to get her. Hold on one second. So, come here, girlfriend. Thank you. So she is a little shaken up, my co-host. This is Figala. Tinkerbell is too shy. So you can see the size of her body. She's not very big. Coffee mug, right? And so today, just an hour and a half ago, someone came to our house without our consent. They did knock on the door. Typically, you have to knock on the door before you do anything on the property of the homes here. And I'm in Georgia. And they sprayed our lawn with pesticides. And immediately I couldn't breathe. And I'm like, what's going on? And I look out the window and there's like this true green or whatever it is. So I went out there. I think I pretty much scared the driver and the guy, the technician, fairly certain of it. And then the girls couldn't breathe, my birds. And as a medical intuitive, I could hone in on that. So I, texted several people. We all went into their field because we're all intuitives, we're all healers, and we cleared all the toxicity, did resets. I mean, the list is long. That's not the story. The story is you need to look at the size of her, right? She's got very small lungs. And they used to have canaries go with people in the coal mine, right? And why did they have canaries go with you in the coal mine? Because they would die before humans would die, because their lungs are so small, they would recognize that there were toxic gases and things like that. And so what I want to tell you is this, and this goes along with the show about Explant Your Implants in Prep, Recover, and Self-Care. You need to start asking yourself if what you're doing is worth it. Is what you're doing worth it? Is it worth the outcome? Look at that cute face. I'm sorry. She's like, don't kill me. Don't poison me. Right? Is it worth the outcome? Because when you're spraying, you're not just, terminating insects. You are terminating birds, some of them on instant case. They don't have to eat the insect. They just die out right there. We've had them fall out of our tree. So is what you're doing worth it? So we're going to bring on Jasmine Jaffarelli. And I want to tell you a little bit about Jasmine. So she, I need to know what MPH is. She'll tell us when she comes on. But she holds a BS in exercise physiology, a master's in public health. She's a functional nutritionist, holistic lifestyle and wellness expert, and she is quite the expert. She is a seasoned wellness and fitness professional. She has well over 2 decades of experience, and her goal is to offer her clients evidence-based, holistic, and conventional medicine. And she aims to empower, and I wouldn't say she aims, I say she does. She empowers people, she motivates them, she educates individuals to achieve optimal health through a sustainable lifestyle, right? And she helps you make these changes. And she's very passionate about helping people solve their challenges using herbs and food. So today what we're talking about, as I mentioned, explant your implants, right? And what does that really mean? Breast implants, people, those boobies that we create because we think that we need bigger boobs. I did the opposite. I took mine off. So I was a G. Yeah, I was a gargantuan, right? G for gargantuan. So anyway, breast implants are affecting people different ways and for different reasons. And breasts provide, as you hopefully know, our first nourishment and connection with the world, humanity, and our families. And women who are getting sick from these implants are being told by their doctors that the implants are still safe. Okay. And so they're putting them in their body anyway. And so here's what you want to know. Silicone is not safe. Let's see. I'm going to have Jasmine provide clarity about this, but she says there's a diffusion of free silicone glass along with 38 different kinds of known neurotoxins that flood the body. And she says many women have mystery type illnesses that affect them daily, from GI issues, fatigue, brain fog, and hormonal imbalances. And I've witnessed a friend of mine about 25, maybe even 30 years ago, who had implants, and she had all of that. And so there are better, she says, better models don't exist. We are going to talk about what I think is coming, but I really don't know. She says implants are not safe and will never be safe. And women who choose to explant women who choose to explant need to be loved, honored, and supported during this process, and not judged or ostracized. And there's a cloud of shame that lingers over each woman who struggles to decide to have them removed. So making the choice to remove is the healthiest and bravest choice that you can make for your mind, body, and soul. And without further ado, let me bring on Jasmine. Friend.
Thank you so much. And it's what a privilege and an honor to be here with you. Yes.
Likewise.
Yes. And it's so funny because I think last week we were chit-chatting, like, how do we know each other? And we both have different memories, but I think, our paths had crossed, back in the Chicagoland area. And that's all we need to know.
Right. And we both, love the doTERRA essential oils, which they're a great, way to support your well-being. Right. Mm-hmm. And amongst many other things. And, the thing is, it almost doesn't matter how we actually met, like minds. Right?
You're right. We have very similar mindsets, and you're probably a lot more seasoned than I am, but we definitely think we have a very similar thought pattern. So, and I think that what we shared last week, we learned a lot from each other, and I'm still sitting with some of the things that you shared with me about me. So,
well, and likewise, right? And so, am I more seasoned? Only in my area. Are you more seasoned? Only in your area.
Right.
Right. And then there's overlap. And then there's overlap. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what was interesting is that I think what caught your eye is that I had shared a client of mine where she was just struggling. I met her back in February in Florida visiting my sister. And she was just my sister was in homeschooling. So I went to go work and I went back, and my sister's like, you got to meet my friend here. And they were just praying over her for someone to come and help her that would understand some of her issues. And as she started sharing with me, she was seeing a nurse practitioner who put her on a keto diet and put her on all these supplements. And she was just feeling worse and worse. And like the red flag was keto for me, because, I learned about the keto diet back in the late 90s. Neuroinflammatory brain conditions. So
you cut out. So you learned about keto in the late 90s, and then something about the brain.
Yeah. So I learned the diet was more geared specifically for people that had neuroinflammatory brain conditions. So it was as a conference, like for kids on the spectrum type of thing. Right. Which makes sense because, we're starving off. We're eating a high fat diet. We're fueling the brain, but we're putting our body in ketosis to actually fuel our bodies with fat. However, it became kind of a trendy, popular thing, and keto taxed out a lot of people's livers, gallbladders. Mm-hmm. put women, it really wrecked hormone function in a lot of women. And so that was a big red flag for me. And as she started talking with me, I said, well, we can start with a simple test. And I told her to stop keto. I told her stop doing, she stopped doing the medium chained,
MCT, yeah.
yes, all the coconut oil. So, and we did what's called a hair tissue mineral analysis on her. And then she also sent me her blood work, because another red flag for me was that she was getting a whole hormone panel and a thyroid panel, but her nurse practitioner never told her that she should do these tests on days 19 through 22 of her cycle. She can go in any time.
Oh, yeah. Right. Interesting. Because that was, and I haven't had a cycle for, I don't know, 11 years. So,
yeah. But she, for someone who still has a cycle and still menstruating, should get these labs ran on days 19 through 22 of their cycle. And so I was just like, hold up. So I said, okay, here's the freebies. And I said, get the test done on days, blah, blah, blah. So I was reading through her blood work, and she just had some markers that were really high. And then I did a hair tissue mineral analysis. And my first thing that I thought was that she had mold illness. And so when I was looking at that and we were talking through it, she then disclosed she had breast implants. And I said, okay. I said, all of this makes sense now. So then I sent her a bunch of information about breast implant illness, what it looks like. And I said, and she's like, this is an expensive surgery. And I said, the choice is yours. I can't tell you what to do. I can't, I said, it is your body, and you get to choose. And she was just suffering, like everything I was trying to do to help her. She was like, this supplement's not working. And she was just reacting to everything. She had extreme fatigue. She's a homeschooling mom and she works on her own. So she was just really desperate to get better. And then we kind of completed our protocol, so to speak. And then I got a message from her, I'm explanting in like 5 days. And I was like, wow, good for you. And the follow-up is that she was starting, like after she got it, like she was starting to feel better. Her energy was starting to come back up. But what often doctors, because when you are there's that fine line between that conventional health world and.
Oh, we lost you again.
The
so
best.
There's a fine line between that conventional health world and, go ahead.
Yeah. And, functional. Because I think doctors are always trying to do that the best that they can with the tools that they have and the research that they know. Right. Mm-hmm. But they don't know it all. And we can really, we can really do the patient such disharm if we're not really being proactive about the foundations of their health in general.
Well, also, if we're not looking at the whole body, and MDs are not trained to do that, they they're allopathics, right? So they're looking at these little individual parts, but they are not trained to piece these things together. And so, and that was, part and parcel of my part when I was disabled for, 4 years, but over medicated for 20. Mm-hmm. So, and interestingly enough, I have a friend who I spent some time with over the weekend and did not know she had implants. And one of the reasons that she had chosen to do this was because her husband didn't want to be embarrassed on the beach. Right?
Yeah.
So divorce is on the radar, right? Just letting you know. And the thing is that we come down here as we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And so you're given the body that you're given, right? And you can choose to treat it as a temple, which hopefully, most of my listeners do, but we all have, including myself, room for growth. And so the thing is, there was a lot of shame, and about not looking womanly. Mm. And then, I'm an intuitive. And so my mom popped in, my late mother popped in, and she goes, Jody, reminder, I was a pancake all my life. I mean, she had no breasts, right? And she didn't have breast surgery. She was God born that way, right? Yeah. But it's okay. She was beautiful and perfect as she was. That's what
Yeah.
I want. She's
And I think that if we have to go back, right? I would say, I mean, the beauty industry, when I go back into when I was growing up in the 90s and how much that, it was airbrushed models, it was, it was, perfect skinny, women. And then Victoria's Secrets became in the, really grew exponentially. And it was, having cleavage and sexy body image. And so I think that, if we, in order to look at where we're at today, we have to go back to say, how did we get here? And I really think the beauty industry has sabotaged, women and the expectations of what we're, oh my gosh, you just had a baby. Well, I'm back into my size 6 jeans, I mean, that's not normal. And then to put somebody out there that happens to that, it makes us feel bad. Like, why aren't we at that level after just giving birth? Or why can't we have that perfect hourglass, high cleavage, skinny, skinny waist, no hip type of body? But, but when you even go back to like Marilyn Monroe, right?
Yes. She was size 12, right? She was a 12.
Yeah. Yeah, she would have been, what was a size 12 then, I think is a size, 6 or a size 16 now or something like that, right?
Really? I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, because, the clothing industry, like it's so funny to me because like, I look at, where I was like, pre-kids and what size I was, right?
Yeah.
Well, that size now, like let's say a size 6 now is like, I can probably now wear like a size 8, 10. And years ago that I would have been more like a 14 if I was at the size I am now from the early, pre.
So you're saying they're making the clothing. So what are they doing with the clothing?
They have to adapt to the changes of our American bodies.
And so are you saying that they're making the sizes a smaller number, but the person's actually bigger? Yeah, that's what I thought too. So
if you try to fit in and I just saw this post on my feed, it was like, this was my mom's favorite jacket. And it was like from the 50s and it had like the cute like skirt, but the skirt had like, but when you look at it, it was like it was a size, 6 from then, but it looks nothing like the size 6 it would be now.
Right. And here's the thing. These are imprints. These are labels. These are all programmed belief systems that we're supposed to look and be a certain way. And I did have that 36, 24, 36 growing up. I was a bodybuilder and a gymnast, right?
Yeah.
So
I had too.
Right.
I was like the perfect 10, and then the weight, the hips were the same, and the waist was 10 inches smaller. That was the ideal then, right? Yeah.
Right. And so, but the interesting thing is, I actually didn't like it because I got attention that I did not welcome. I'm sure you get to know what I'm saying. It goes like this, right? They're looking at your breasts instead of your face. And then when I was misdiagnosed and I, because of the medications, put on 100 pounds. So I'm 235 pounds and I actually don't have body image issues, believe it or not, because I kind of just loved me for me. And I was just happy that I was not experiencing what I was experiencing. Right. But then I took all the weight off and became a nutritionist, brain health professional, like make the list. Right. And now I have body issues because I'm like, well, because the program belief system and the imprint by society that because I have this title, I'm supposed to look that way. But you know what occurred to me over the weekend? No one said that if you're a nutritionist or holistic health practitioner of any type, that you can't get sick, that you can't get exposed to something that causes you to gain weight, lose too much weight, have skin issues, lose your hair, like name it, right? It can happen to anyone. And so we have to reframe. Because in my book, I mentioned, and I don't do this anymore, I judged other women. big time, because that's how I was trained.
Well, right. But when
I
women,
retrained it though.
but we pass out judgment based on our own insecurities,
Yes. But
right?
that's the kind of program that I got from my mom, that we're supposed to look a certain way.
Right. Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that, because like, I'm just, kind of honing on the body image thing. And then, going back to explanting, is that my daughter was like 3 months old, and I was nursing her, and I was with a friend, and we were nursing together. And she was telling me about this book called Mother-Daughter Wisdom by Dr. Christine Northrup. And so I'm a reader. I'm an avid reader. I'm a lifelong learner. Like, I just want to absorb and learn everything that I can. And I remember like a snippet somewhere in her book about how we as women pass on our projections of our self-image of our body, and how we pass that down from women. And I had this aha moment of, I remember my mother talking to my great grandmother on the phone when I was younger, and my great grandmother was just doing the grapefruit diet. Right.
Mhm.
And then my grandma,
Right.
and then my grandma, who worked in the airline industry, was doing the stewardess diet, because stewardesses, right now they're called flight attendants, right? But this was called the stewardess. So we're calling it for what the time that it was in the 50s.
I get you. Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't want everybody getting mad. It's like, not PC, but, so it was the stewardess diet, but the stewardesses back then got on a scale before each flight.
I remember.
To weigh a certain amount. Otherwise, it'd be like a week before they flight. And then if they didn't weigh that the day of the flight, they couldn't fly that day.
Right. Because you have a weight limit on the plane.
You know what the diet was? It was like 600 calories a day. It was like a 600 calorie a day diet. It was like peanut butter, like a tablespoon of peanut butter with toast, coffee, Jell-O, skinned white chicken. I mean, it was like the most. And I remember like myself as a middle schooler, teenager, like trying to do that diet to lose weight, even that young, because that's the message that had been imprinted. Every single female in my family was always trying to lose weight. And I remember just thinking that, like, nope, the buck stops here. I am not going to imprint this on my daughter. Heck no.
Yeah. And I want to just give like a yes and to that. And let's go to Explant.
Yeah.
So I was in high school at Barrington. I'm a gymnast. I think I'm a sophomore. And don't get me wrong, I had a SAD diet, right? Standard American diet. And so high sugar diet. But they invited me. Now I'm this big around. I have a picture of this in my book. I'm this big around, and they invite me to start dieting and having Diet Coke, right? But within.
Yeah, but food was different back then when we were growing up, right? We didn't have the GMOs. We didn't have like.
Oh, I did.
Our milk wasn't hormoned. No hormones were in our milk until 1994. So we didn't really, they didn't start putting hormones in our milk until about 94.
Okay, so I had that differently. So I know I thought the GMOs entered the market in the 70s, 1970s, because we started having, I know that we were growing it on our land.
Yeah, I mean, it was there, but it wasn't really introduced to the food supply, the food chain supply, really until about the mid 90s. So if by the time, if you graduated high school in the early 90s, you technically did not grow up. Because even Coca-Cola back then was made with real sugar, until they started transitioning to high fructose corn syrup. So, so we're going to this body image thing. And then we're looking at these beautiful Victoria's Secret models, and we think that we have to have big breasts. So then enters all the breast implants of the world, right? Mm-hmm. And now, you're seeing years later, and I'll just label a couple of what some common symptoms of breast implant illness looks like, right? It can lead to cognitive dysfunction, difficulty concentrating, muscle pain, weakness, joint pain, hair loss, dry skin, weight problems, inflammation, poor sleep, insomnia, parathyroid, thyroid issues, diminishing hormones, early menopause, hysterectomy, gallbladder issues, liver problems, gallbladder removed, chest discomfort, shortness of breath, cold hands, tingliness in the ear. I mean, the list goes on.
And I would suspect, I'm just guessing, it starts with anxiety and stress.
Well, it could be, right? Because we have so much anxiety around who we are and what we look like, and we walk around masking ourselves,
Isn't it a neurotoxin though?
Yes. So when we look at just silicone, which you had mentioned earlier, if the shell and filling alone is a chemical soup. So we're looking at isopropyl alcohol, denatured alcohol. We got acetone, which is a neurotoxin. We have methyl ethyl ketone, which is a neurotoxin. We got ethylene oxide, which is a carcinogen, phenol, neurotoxin, naphtha, which is a rubber solvent, formaldehyde, there's talcum powder, there's silica, there's printing ink in there, lacquer thinner, toluene, which is a neurotoxin and a carcinogen, dichloromethane, which is a carcinogen. So, I mean, like, it is a toxic chemical soup that's just, we're inserting.
Okay, I just got to pause this for a second.
Chest cavity. Yeah.
Most of that stuff is also in our water supply.
Oh, well, yeah. Right.
All right. And I'm just listening. I'm like, well, I know that list. Great. So you're drinking it and you're inserting it into your boobs. Cool.
But so if it's in our water supply, we have to excrete it. So here's a funny story. When I used to work at Motorola in Schaumburg, and I used to work in the wellness center there at corporate headquarters, and they said the number one drug that was in the water supply was Prozac.
Yeah, I know.
Back in like 2001. So we have to think.
And what's the active ingredient in Prozac? Do you know?
No, that I don't.
So it's fluoride. So
fluoride.
Oh, okay. And it's black box, and it's a neurotoxin, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
And so it causes you to have all over body pain, right? Mm-hmm. Symptoms of fibromyalgia, and I actually got small fiber neuropathy from it, which they said you could not reverse. And I did.
So, but we have to think about everything that we ingest, we have to excrete from, but even stuff that's inside our bodies has to be excreted. So, and of course we have to have a phenomenal sanitation system, but there's still micro, elements that's getting through and still getting into our water supply. So, it's a cycle.
Yeah. Not to mention that we're inhaling a credit card size of microplastics every day. So, or every week. Sorry.
Right. And just going to silicone alone, right? And we talked a little bit about, I remember when silicone first came into the baking world, and I was like, great, I don't have to use aluminum pans to bake my kids' goods, but then I used silicone, right? So it's like, when we know better, we can do better, but it was introduced as a non-toxic form of baking at the time. And I want to say this was probably 11, 12 years ago.
Right. And I thought it was okay. And I was also going to, print some cups for my business, because I sell water filters. So, it's a giveaway cup, whatever. And so my printer was selling them in silicone. I goes, these safe? She goes, oh, yeah. And so I brought them home, and I just, I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
Because when you look on the research, and I know that I didn't have the right research, okay, but there's a lot of sources out there that are saying that silicone is safe to cook with. What do you say about that?
Well, now we know better. We do. So silicone technically has a higher heat and higher cold resistance, and it's definitely more durable than plastic, but it's still made with synthetic rubber and synthetic plastic polymers and synthetic materials that is not safe for food use.
Right.
End of story. So
it's interesting. This is what I called you, or I think I sent you a message about it, and I don't have the source of it, but somebody who promotes living toxic free, like that's her job, and she has toxic something in her title, was saying, oh yeah, use silicone, it's toxic free. And I'm like, I know I don't know everything, but it's not resonating with me. So I don't believe everything you read, people, right? And just because they have a title that says that they do whatever it is that they do, you don't have to hand over your power, right? And just say, okay, they must be right.
And we do that a lot. We just automatically assume that someone shares something that is the word, and without doing our own due diligence and research on it. And but we can definitely, like I said, when we know better, we can do better. And we know more, we can do better. But at the end of the day, silicone is
Right, yeah.
has carcinogenic materials, and it can cause a form of cancer. And there's research out there on it, so there's, so it's like, well, I want to bake, but I don't want to use aluminum, so at the end of the day, I'm just using non-chlorinated muffin wrappers, and then put them in my muffin pans. That's a little bit more of a green pan, but it's not, at the end of the day, it's
I came up with a solution. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah. So I use those glass pans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you can use clay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Clay or glass. And then, I don't do muffins anymore because I just cut it. Like I make it a square.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, muffins are super pretty. Don't get me wrong. But for me, it wasn't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always making their birdie bread in there. So, so that's a very, very safe alternative. Honestly, it's also super cheap because you could go to a resale shop, like any of the thrift stores, and they usually have people who have donated their Pyrex, or what is that stuff? It's a ceramic, but I forget the brand name, but it was around when you and I were kids, and it's white and it's ceramic, and they would, make cords. Yes.
Yeah. Corel's got a lot of lead in it. So we got to be careful with Corel.
Thank you. So I actually don't use it, but I would have recommended it.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that you just told me that. So
yeah.
Corel, everybody, not a good idea.
Not a good idea to use Corel, even Pyrex. So if we're, talking about kitchen, I like the brand Anchor. Anchor is a lead-free glass company made in America. It's actually made in Ohio.
So
but Anchor hockey,
Pyrex has lead in it?
Yeah, there's some certain that has tested for lead. Yeah. So Anchor Hocking is the glass dishes that I personally have in my home. Like I said, they are made in America, and they've been around for over 100 years. So it's a good quality Anchor Hocking. So it's Amazon Prime deals right now. So if they've got them on sale, now's a good time to get them. But those are the glass dishes I personally use. I got rid of almost all my Pyrex. So.
Well, it's interesting. They're saying the vintage glass is what has, from what I'm seeing, the vintage glass.
Yeah. So all the stuff that we grew up in, had a lot more lead. And
okay, so the stuff I have now is the non-vintage Pyrex. So are you saying that the non-vintage Pyrex also has lead? Because that's not how.
That I'm not sure of. But there's information out there. Like even when I was buying new dishes, I did a research on what dishes to buy that had the safest paint. All that stuff. Because a lot of your colored dishes is going to have, a lot of lead in it. So.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't do colored dishes. It's interesting. There's some people who are saying as far back as 2019 that it still does have some lead and or cadmium in it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you something. I love to learn. Usually not on my own podcast. But I'm always a student. So, I mean.
We have to be, every day's a school day, Jody. So.
Every day is a school day.
Every day is a school day. And we're never too old.
There's some lead in that glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had my husband throw out all his glasses that had lead in it. The cut glass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
lead
crystal, right?
Yeah. So it's when we know better, we can do better. And, and as for the client that I had that was working on getting her explants, I would definitely say that work with someone that understands that you need to prepare your body for the explant before surgery. And you also need to detox, starting pretty much right away after the surgery, and support your body for at least 3 months of detoxing post explant, because you still have all the remnants of heavy metals and all the toxins from the implants that were in your body. Because if you don't properly detox, it's just going to circulate in your body, and you're still you're going to be battling maybe some of the same issues. So that's kind of my take home message. And a lot of your conventional doctors are going to tell you, oh, you don't need to do that. You don't need to detox. But, if you look in the forums, every single email's like, no, you have to detox or you're going to keep yourself sick.
Jasmine, I have a really important question to ask you about detox. So I don't have evidence about what I'm going to say. So I usually tell you if I have evidence, right? I don't have evidence. This is a download. Okay.
Okay.
So, so I have another friend of mine, and she has these implants and she does heavy detoxing because of those implants. And I heard that detox was actually eroding the implant and actually reducing the lifespan of the implant, and that it was actually worse. Like it was helping her body, but it was also deteriorating the implant at the same time.
Interesting. I don't have any evidence of that, and I have not heard that, but I can definitely see how that is possible.
Well, it's chemical reaction.
Right. I think that what we can all be doing is just supporting our livers and our gallbladder and, taking supportive supplements or teas, drinking teas, or, there's tons of just natural foods, you got cilantro and, dandelion and burdock root, that we can incorporate into our daily, diets, right, to support our body's natural detoxification system. But the fact of the matter is that we all have toxins that we need a little bit of extra support to work through. And I have read in a couple forums, now that I'm thinking about it, that detoxing while you have implants is kind of like shoveling snow while it's snowing.
Okay. So that's what I thought. I do have a solution. Which is, I think, safer than using the cilantro, the ginger, and, like name your list, right?
Right.
Let me just channel this. They're saying it's way safer. So not FDA approved, no research stuff. Like, yeah, you can just take this as entertainment. Okay. Okay. Here's your entertainment for the world, right? I have to do my disclosure. So I use frequencies, and I have a frequency that detoxes liver and detoxes the whole body, and you send the frequency wherever you go. And like I said, really detox the body as an entertainment purpose only. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a precision and it's going straight to the liver and detoxing it and not passing through the rest of your organs, supposedly. I think using frequency to detox would be a much safer option.
I can totally see that.
Yeah. Versus shoveling snow while it's snowing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Good food for thought. So yeah, I think that, after I shared my post on Facebook, I don't know, I had a half a dozen women sharing their own explant stories and how they were proud of that process, so that they made a brave and big decision to get rid of their implants. And, and I had one private message me saying that I had a couple, and one of the biggest challenge was the emotional aspect of it, because women just in general is that we pride our, it's kind of like, it really is a body image thing at the end of the day. And it's how we look and how we feel in clothing, and, every single day. And that has a part of how we show up in this world. And it has a part in our ability to be confident in who we are. So there's some of that aspect. And a lot of women, like, I know my client was just like, please don't tell anybody. And I'm like, well, you're my client and I do abide by the HIPAA laws. Like, I am not, I did ask to share her pictures with her permission. I do not share her name, right? So he's not the only one that feels this incredible whoosh of, guilt and shame around what they did years ago, because we look at breasts as something that's very sexual and it's very sexualized.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so that was the big thing for my girlfriend. She's like, she goes, I'm going to be dating and I want to feel like a woman. And I really want to address this.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's kind of like the next segue of what somebody had private message me and asked me about fat transplants. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then
so
before we go to fat transplants,
yeah.
Can I just talk about the psyche, and then we'll spend the rest of the time on that fat transplant?
Take it away.
So when someone loves you, they actually don't see you. They don't see your physical body. They see your soul. They see your heart.
Right.
That's kind of the end of that. So meaning that.
No, 100%.
It doesn't matter.
Well, 100%. And we have to, and only if, there's a small percentage of people that really truly get what it's like to look deep into someone's eyes and see their soul, right? And see them for who they are, their woundings, their hurts, their pains, but also their joys and their happiness and their health and their well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few people that really truly understand that the depth of that and what that looks like, that we are just physical beings in this, as you said, this like, in a spiritual world.
Right. Well, we're spiritual beings.
But yes, I'm sorry,
it's cool. You just gave me an opportunity to reinstate, right?
Yeah. Oops.
And look, I fully agree with you that most people don't do that, but I'm going to tell you that's where we're going.
Yeah, there's an upgrade. Yeah.
Yes, it's where we're going. Everything's heart-centered, leading with heart, leading with love. That's always her message, this one. And so I told this friend of mine, I said, when you find that man, because she's an intuitive, right? Mm-hmm. I said, so when you find that man, he's only looking at your heart anyway. I mean, like, especially for her, right? Yeah. So if you're an intuitive listening to this, God's got your back. If you're not intuitive listening to this, become an intuitive and God's got you. No.
Yeah.
I mean, but you get my point. I mean, love yourself first, exactly where you're at, and then you'll attract the right person with 2 big boobs, 2 small boobs, one of each size. I mean, look, guys, if I took off my shirt and showed you what I got, you would be floored, because I had a breast reduction. I look like Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look good. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely care what they did, but it doesn't define me.
Right. Right. And I think that's the thing too, the stigma. I developed very fast in my youth.
Me too.
And so there was a stigma of, because, and there's still a stigma. I even saw it just recently in my child middle school, and how this girl was extra busty, and you can just feel the judgment being casted on this poor girl for having a big chest, like she was, trying to flaunt and show it off, or she was being promiscuous. So there's this stigma of promiscuity behind young girls that develop very fast. And
whether they're being promiscuous or not, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but like,
it's just because you have big boobs, you are promiscuous.
Yeah, that's the label that goes on.
No, I'm with you. That's why I did not have any joy as a teenager being so big busted. I'm like, my face is here, Here.
Yeah. No, same here. And I danced in high school, so it was,
so was I. Yeah.
I mean, I got the jokes. I mean, I remember that. Even my yearbook was full of like big chested jokes. So thankfully they all got moldy and I had to throw them away. So
Bummer. Right?
So, but so let's
laughing. She's like, that's so funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, but
fatty tissue transfer. Can you tell me
the
about
fat. And so I was like, well, that's a great question. I want to look into that more. And, and I found myself in some Facebook forums, just kind of like researching and seeing what was out there. It was really interesting to me that the amount of women after they got explants decided to do the fat transfer breast augmentation. And so what it does, it uses the excess fat from your body to fill in your breasts. And it's
I got a tushy I can loan.
But they use liposuction, right, to explant now the fat and to transfer it into your chest. So there's pros and cons, right, to everything we do. And the pros is that you're using your own body fat, as opposed to implants. And so they're going to have a more natural feel to it. They're not going to be like these super perky like implants. So they're going to look more natural and they're going to feel more natural. So
I got a plot twist on this.
You got a what?
I got a plot twist on this.
Okay.
Are you going here? Because if you are, I'm just going to ask you, are you going, because I'll let you drop the bomb, the fact that we store toxins in our fat cells? Is that where you're going? Go for it.
Yeah. So the pros, going to go into the pros was, so there's a shorter recovery period. There's minimal scarring, right? And it does naturally, they will graft and contour the body when they do the liposuction, right? And so it's going to add the volume. So the pro, I guess, for women, if they're, really looking at body enhancement, is that, they might get a little bit of a flatter stomach, and then they're going to transfer into their fat, and it's kind of a win-win, right? Liposuction is very traumatic on the body. And if you've ever seen liposuction on TV,
I have. Yeah.
It's like
it's a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I can watch surgeries and not get like tingly, but like just thinking about a liposuction and in my own brain, like my body's like, oh, I'm like, oh, like my legs.
That's why to become a doctor, because you had to work on cadavers.
What? No,
I did not become a doctor because I found out in high school you had to work on cadavers.
So cadavers, I mean, my undergrad in exercise physiology, we had to work on a cadaver and anatomy and physiology. And it didn't bother me. Actually, I was very fascinated by it. But I just did not want to go through med school.
Well, right. And but here's what I know now.
Yeah.
Is that the cadaver wouldn't have energy.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't know that as a 16 and 17-year-old.
Yeah. The cadavers never bothered me. It was just, I didn't want to do surgery. And quite frankly, I didn't want to put myself through all that rigorous medical school stuff. But my brain works like one. They're good enough.
Yes, it does. Yes,
but so those are some of the pros. So it's going to be minimal scarring, a shorter recover period time. It'll actually help contour the body, and it's going to be permanent. So the cons is that usually about 30 to 50% of the added fat cells will fail to survive and be reabsorbed into the tissue. So it can fail.
Wow.
Right. So the most that women can go up is 1 cup size, which is, should be good enough, right?
My mom was just a little itty bitty raisin, so she was happy.
But it's not, you're still going to sag. So you're going to have age-related sagging that comes along when you age. So it's only going to add volume, but it's not going to tighten and perk things up like an implant will, right? And then, of course, as you mentioned, that you've got, we store our toxins in our fat cells. So transferring toxins into the chest, is it going to bring up suppressed emotions that have been sitting in the breast tissue or sitting in where the fat has been transferred from? So, so there's some of those things. Is it worth it? I think that, for women that had a mastectomy after breast cancer, or got the implants and then the explants, or are explanting, they feel a sense of loss, right?
You're going to have a sense of loss though, either way.
Right. Because it became part of their identity.
Right.
So there's a
Grief
sense
is
of,
real, right? The grief
right.
is
It is real. And so my suggestion is that, I think that any woman who's going to go through a breast explant really should go to go see a therapist to work through before surgery and post-op.
So
And
I want to do something more than that. I want to say this. A therapist, because some people just need to talk it out, right?
Mhm,
But NLP, neuro-linguistic programming,
mhm,
allows you to modify your mindset, and they can do it in a few sessions
right,
using, tapping and things,
right.
modify mindset, behavior. And now you just might want to just sit there and talk to someone, and that is completely fine. But if you really want to release it,
Mhm.
like, like that's NLP. There's also some other technologies too.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. No, point well taken. And I think I say that more as a generalization. I do like the reprogramming of the mind,
Mhm.
because we do have to rewire that part of the brain and
Mhm.
rechange our mind. It is a mindset. We have to
Yeah.
rewire that and change
And
our
this is it
mindset.
too. Yeah. So this is neuroplasticity in a box.
Neuroplasticity, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
and we all can do better in that department, anyways.
Every one of us,
Mhm,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and Chris says that my friend Chris says, I asked this of a surgeon that did implants for someone I know. Using the fat was completely poo-pooed. And then she says, it takes me longer to do, and stated so the doctor, I guess, was saying it was taking him longer to do the surgery, and stated her recovery time would also be longer.
yeah.
Thoughts?
So what's interesting is that some of the forms that I was in, and so there was one specific person that I was reading through that she wanted bigger breasts. She was contemplating between implants and the fat transfer, and the surgeon was really pushing for the implants. And of course now everybody in the feed is all about, well, it's about the money, they make more money, et cetera, and this and that, right?
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, we've all been medically gaslit at some point or another,
Mhm.
right?
No, yeah.
And so, and
I
what
I
happens,
I believe that we all need to be on the board of poison control.
but what happens is that we as women, because we get gaslit so much by the medical community, we don't listen to our own intuition.
Mhm.
And so the advice that I give to my kids is like, if you're unsure, the answer is no. If
Right.
you're
Really,
unsure
like
you
you're all
want that
in.
person, the answer is no. If you're unsure you want to get in that car with someone, the answer is no. So if you're unsure, the answer is no. Get a second opinion. But at the end of the day, do what you want to do, because it is your body and it is your choice to do what you want when it comes to surgery and giving permission for someone to cut you open. And that's a big, big deal. That's trauma to the physical body. It's trauma to your mental and spiritual well-being. So,
But I want to do an add to that. Um, so yes, you have free will to do what you want. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to guide you differently than I did.
mhm,
Like I've had these lessons. Every time you open up your body, and yes, it is your choice, you expose yourself to a myriad of issues,
mhm,
right? That can potentially last a lifetime. Okay. That's number one. Number two, I know that not everybody who listens here is a practicing Christian. That is okay. I'm
yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
to, yeah, but tell you anyway. And I'm not a Bible bumper, but Corinthians, I think it's 1:16:9, or, well, anyways, it's your body is on loan to you. It's and from God, and you should treat it as a temple. You don't have to be a Christ follower to understand the importance of treating your body as a temple, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think everybody has to practice what I practice, right? You can just take the one line and maybe like that line. And if you don't like that line, it's also okay. you know? So like, I love you where you're at, that kind of thing. So the point is that people, you get this one body, and look, I was eager to have surgery on my torn rotator cuff, surgery here, because that's how and eventually got programmed, right? That's how you heal. But the truth of the matter is, you can self-heal,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really amazing. And you don't need chemicals to do it. And the real healing and the real love comes from within. So actually, I'm going to go to a sex change operation. Give me a minute here. I'm not like all read up on it, but I know that if somebody wants to have a sex change operation, they actually have to pass a myriad of psychological exams, I believe.
Right.
Okay. Because of what you said, right? This is a psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical impact on your body. And that should be honestly for any surgery. But
they do that for gastric bypass, right? They undergo psychological evaluation for those types of surgeries as well.
So it makes really good sense to me, because if we stop choosing to see ourselves through the eyes of others and instead see ourselves through the eyes of Source, God, whatever God you believe in, I'm sure He loves you, right? I know He loves you. So see yourself through the eyes of Source Energy, God, Yahweh, Christ, Buddha. I don't care, right? See your eyes through that person, that energy, because then you'll never second guess yourself again, because you're getting access to a higher power.
No, that's good.
And Vieta says, great advice, ladies. My granddaughter is 10 years old and named Jasmine. Beautiful name.
Aw.
She's already wearing small bras, so I'm listening to all the experiences you both have and hoping her stay small. Well, I do too. And actually, can I just say this? Kick the bras to the curb, because they actually cut off your lymphatics. And am I sagging? I am. Okay. I'm 61. I'm going to sag a little bit. And do I look really hot and pretty with no, I don't. I'm okay, because I'm not cutting off my lymphatics. All right. And I'm not going to have any, big C thing. Like, cancer. Right. So, so again, what we said at the beginning of the show is, think about the outcome of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And at age 58, I gave up wearing bras for my 58th birthday. And I wrote an article about it.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think, going back to the lady, I would just say, like, having a daughter, I was always very conscious, like making sure everything was organic cotton, right? Organic cotton underwear, organic cotton tank tops, or, bralettes that were not wired. So all those things that, because, we know the pesticides and the chemicals that can be on the closest part of her skin. Vieta, that's what it is. Vieta. Yeah. So I think you're being an amazing and supportive grandma. And that, just teaching your granddaughter to love her body, and, and to really appreciate that, because I really enjoy watching my daughter not have the same body image issues that I know I had at her teenage self. And so to me, that's very freeing to see that with her. And there's something refreshing, I think, about this generation of girls. And they do like really embody this, like, I'm free to be me, and I am who I am. So different than, us little, Gen X, a little jaded Gen X population, and the Gen Zs are really fascinating. And, and I think the only thing that I see differently where body image was pushed on our generation is now I'm seeing the skincare and all the skin stuff and all the makeup that's being pushed on this younger generation so much earlier. So just really just teaching young women to appreciate their natural beauty and what they have.
Well, right. And so the thing is, I filter my water and shower. Yeah. Well, but also for the shower, right? Because if you're not filtering your
Whole
shower.
house filter here.
What's that?
Whole house filter here.
Same here. So we have a whole house. I resell the Pro One water filters, and I've been using them since 2014, right? And they are amazing. And the most amazing thing about them, besides taking out 220 contaminants, is that they're leaving the minerals in for your brain health.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that I'm sure you see this too, Jasmine, where people are posting, "What's your favorite skin thing?" And blah, 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 blah. And I say, filtered water. Because I don't wear makeup. You can see, no makeup.
Yeah.
And I am 61. I'm going to be 61 in a couple months. I, on occasion, will put some lotion on if there's like a dry spot on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
love the doTERRA stuff,
mm-hmm.
but I've had to buy it I don't know, in the, again, 10 years that I've been using it, just a couple of times because I just don't use it. I don't need it.
You're right.
And I don't need it because my body's not all dried out from the chemicals.
Right. And really, we have to nourish our skin from within, right? So,
inside job.
Yeah, everything's an inside job. So, yeah.
You are so, so amazing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, such a wealth of information. I'm going to have to muscle test the Pyrex dishes that I have, make sure that the ones I have are clean, or, because I think there's variations of them. I'm not sure, but I will find out. And so if you are using Pyrex, guys, go back and check your stuff. What you said, what's the name of the other company that you recommend?
Yeah, it's called Anchor Hocking. They're based out of Ohio, ironically. So it's a Midwest, and they've been around for over 100 years. And I made the transition, about several years ago, slowly making that transition to having.
I see them, Anchor Hocking, but they also have plastic and or their lids, right, are an issue, just like all the rest.
So yeah. At the end of the day, I'm not cooking with the lids, right? It's like if I'm going to store it in the refrigerator, it's cold. So,
solution. So I use brown parchment paper. I put it over, and then I bought these really big rubber bands.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's cheap and toxic free.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have a solution for everything, but that was one of them.
Yeah.
So she says, "Yes, Jasmine, you are amazing. And you too, Jody. I love you, Vieta." Vieta is also a holistic life coach, right?
Oh, that's wonderful.
And she's really delightful. Really just also a great source of information.
Well, your granddaughter's got a beautiful name, and it's when I was growing up, because I was born in the 70s, so I'm a flower child, so the 70s flowers child, and nobody had my name growing up, so I always hated it because everyone was Sarah or Michelle or something like that, and it's when the movie Aladdin came out. And
yeah.
That's when Jasmine became popular. But now there's so many variations of the spelling that, every time I call, I'm like, nope, I'm the OG. I'm the OG spelling, it's the original.
What's the OG spelling?
It's a new term. It's called OG, stands for original gangster. So
okay.
Yeah, come on, Jody, you gotta be hip with the kids. I mean, come on.
I hear you.
So the OG spelling is with the M-I-N-E. There's no Z, there's no M-Y-N. It's the OG spelling. So
yeah, the original gangster. So I'm getting pinged here by her, and she wants me to circle back and just remind new listeners again about toxins and spraying the lawn. So as we said at the beginning, of the show, So they were both very sick. We called in about 6 or 7 healers to help heal the birds, pull the toxins out of their body, do a reset. We gave them, all these different things. And we were able to save them quickly. But I'm an animal communicator. I'm like, Tinkerbell's over there. She's hiding. I said, how bad do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? She's like 10. And same with her. Now we both got them down to a 0 using humming and frequency. I put on different oils. But the thing is that if you're spraying your lawn with pesticides, you could be killing birds on instinct case. And you're definitely. And she says, save the animals. And by saving the animals, you'll save yourself.
Yeah, that's good. I love it.
Anything else you want to say? No, she says, save the animals, save yourself.
Well, that's, I live in Birdtown, Indiana, so there's a lot of birds where I live, and and we need the birds, right? We need the birds.
Well, look, here's the thing. If the birds go, and again, she wants me to show you how small her chest is, because that's the lungs that will get, impaired quickly. If the bees go and the birds go, who's next, Jasmine?
Right. Yeah.
Well, for those who don't know, who's next?
Right. Humans.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say, because other people are just not connecting the dots.
Right. Yeah.
The privilege of wings. For those of you who are on audio only on the replay, the bird perched on my head. She's like, I got it. Okay. So thank you so much. And so we, Jasmine, for people who go audio only, can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So, well, I'm on Facebook, and everything out there on social media is at Healthy Jasmine. So if you put that into Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I don't tweet a lot. I haven't posted on Instagram a lot, but I've been cocooning this past year and plan on relaunching. And I do see clients privately as well. I see a few per month, but I will be, I've been, like I said, I've been cocooning and ready to kind of extend my wings again and get back out there. So.
Well, and I understand that cocooning thing. I had to do it too, because, the whole planet is ascending. We're in an ascension process. And so we have, and our cells change, right? That we get new cells. We have a whole new body. I think it's every 7 years. And so I think a lot of us just had to heal so we can help others heal.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's what we're supposed to do.
100%. Yeah.
So, so if you're looking for water filters, I do more than that, but today, you can call at 847-738-0242. You can go to my website at www.susanessentials.com. When you go there, there's a red free consult button, or you can just go straight to the water part of the website, which might be hard to find. So send me a text message and I'll send you the link. Keep it the easy button. She's like, Mommy has the best water. Mwah. All right. Oh, sorry. I remember. I have a stress less session tomorrow. It's only $22. You can come in person or online. And so not only will I be using frequency healing, Rife technology, which technically, according to the FDA, does not help. Just doing my disclosure.
It works. I've done it before.
I'm not allowed to say that, right? So, but you can come and pretend like it helped you. And it's at a sliding scale, just so people can have the experience of what frequency healing looks like.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So I'm going to put on my little outro, which we're still having struggles with all of that, but we'll see what we can do here for my outro. There we go. And we will see everybody next week.
All right. Bye. Thank you again.
And end stream.